I've never been a fan of the AVGN. That's not to say I hate him, because I've always enjoyed the informative side of his reviews. I always thought those were really good, very well detailed. It's the other half of his videos I've never liked. James is a big movie fan. He's made movies all his life, many of which he put on his channel, and has always had a dream of making big movies. And he got the bright idea to throw those movie-making dreams into his game reviews. Hey, I get it. The AVGN episodes were the most watched videos on his channel, the best place to get noticed by someone. Why not? It's a great strategy, but not a place where they belong. And after the review finished up, or many times even during the review, we've been treated to James getting on camera, beating up a bunch of costumed characters, and drinking beer bottles most likely filled with water against a green screen oversaturated with After Effects, with dumb faces, terrible acting, and lots of crude toilet humor. I've never found the AVGN funny or entertaining. I've always found him obnoxious, distracting to the review, and completely over the top, and not in a good way. Unfortunately, this is where the movie takes every one of its cues from. This movie sucks. It's not funny, it's not entertaining, it's not even obnoxious like the skits are. It's boring. One of the most boring movies I've ever watched. It's about as engaging as watching paint dry. And for those of you who are about to say, "Oh, but Contra! You can't really criticize this movie all that much, because what were you expecting? It's a B-movie!" No, it's not. The old Godzillas are B-movies. Hobo with a Shotgun, Napoleon Dynamite, those are B-movies. Clerks is a B-movie, and that had better acting, writing, and comedy, and it was made on a tenth of the budget of what James had. James had $325,000, Kevin Smith had only $30,000. Let that sink in for a minute. The AVGN movie is somewhere between a C movie and a Z movie. If you don't know what those are, go look it up. Anyways, first problem is the story. When the movie opens up, you have this corporation making E.T. 2 and they want the nerd to review it. That got me interested. I was like, oh, hey, this reminds me of Wayne's World. He's probably going to get set up and exploited by this corporation. This might actually be good. The nerd himself has never had any form of a real character to him, and according to James, he's not really a character, more so of an exaggeration of his own personality, but this was a perfect opportunity to fix that. Establish who the nerd is, go into his mind, find out what makes him tick, and if you were expecting something like that, like I was, guess what? It's not here. The only kind of development or establishing of a character the nerd goes through is his hesitation to review the first E.T. because all the fans want him to review it, and he doesn't. But he overcomes this within literally the first 20 minutes, including the opening credits, and another 10 minutes after that, all of the other characters lose interest in the story too. If we got some good acting, we might be able to salvage something out of this, right? Well, if you were expecting that, or at least a little bit more out of James's performance as the nerd, again, like I was, again, it's not here. His acting in the movie is surprisingly worse than in the web series, and I didn't think that was possible. Nearly all of the nerd's reactions to things are either this or this. And as for every other character, instead of actually putting the actors in the movie, James should have just taken pictures of all the actors and taped them to pieces of cardboard. They're so bland and uninteresting. You got the nerdy sidekick, the dumb love interest, the war-hungry general. I'm not blaming the actors. I'm blaming the material they had to work with, which was hardly anything. To say the script and dialogue for this movie is generic is a huge understatement. I guess James forgot when he was writing the movie years ago that the most important part of making a good movie is good writing, because from good writing comes good characters, and from that comes a good story. So what does this movie have? Well, it's got plenty of terrible special effects, miniature sets, rubber suit monsters, and robots made out of cardboard and tinfoil. There's also this one part where the van that the characters are using throughout the movie gets destroyed, and it's a fucking miniature. James couldn't even wreck the actual fucking van, and he had a budget of $300,000? Really? I was probably supposed to laugh at the sheer nonsense of what was being shown on screen, but I didn't. It's not funny, even in a nonsensical way. It's dumb and pathetic, and makes the movie feel extremely bloated because this movie is way too fucking long. You can easily shave 40 minutes off this goddamn thing and make it a lot more bearable to sit through. I lost count of the number of times I looked at the timeline on the movie just to see how far along it was. But the AVGN movie also has one other thing going for it. Ego stroking. A lot of it. And with it, the only piece of comedy I've ever found in anything put out by the AVGN. It was pretty obvious after the nerd e-begged for a whole bunch of money to help him finish the movie, and then begged some more for some fucking Cheetahman 2 thing, that he thought of himself as a demigod and could get away with anything. And there is no better illustration of that than in the opening credits, because after the scene with the corporation, there's this big fucking montage of all these people saying, "Hey James, I'm your biggest fan. I even got this tattoo just for you, and I sleep with an AVGN plush doll." And it doesn't stop there. It goes on throughout the whole fucking movie. People high-fiving him, asking him for his autograph, but there's a couple times in particular that really take the fucking cake. The first time is when that guy that Time Winters plays, he says to the nerd, "Something tells me you're not just some gamer, but the gamer." James even had the audacity to put that line in the trailer, and if you don't believe me, the trailer is still up on his channel. And then there's another scene where the general watches some of the nerd's videos and he's like, "Oh my god, this guy's so funny." And then he watches the sidekicks videos and he's like, "Nah, this guy sucks. Let's go back to the nerd." But the one thing that made me laugh so fucking hard is the last part of that opening montage. Because after he goes through all the people that got tattoos and plushies, he shows a montage of all his foreign fans. And the very last one is some guy from Eastern Europe who says, "AVGN episodes helped me to learn English." I almost fell out of my chair laughing. Not a good movie, guys. It's too long, it's boring, unfunny, and obsessively self-important. It's also really ironic that by trying to make the scale of this movie bigger than he ever had before, James ended up creating something far more amateurish than any of his skits ever were. And as a result, the movie ends up feeling far more like the YouTube skits it was created from, rather than the movie it tried to be. Alright kids, thanks for watching. If you're already subbed to the channel or are about to, be sure to hit the bell so you get notified when I post a video, hit the like button, and give me some feedback. I don't care if it's good or bad.